Hey everybody, today we're going to talk to Jacky Eubanks, Planning Director with Catawba County. Jacky is going to talk about what's going on in Catawba County. There's a lot of infrastructure things that are happening and some building and development that's happening in the county. And a lot of times we end up talking a lot about what's going on in Hickory, Newton, and Conover, but we don't really talk too much about what's happening in the Sherrills Ford area and the over closer to Lake Norman, even though it's still part of Catawba County. And it's really the area of our county that's actually growing the fastest. We've got the most land to work there. And so it's really growing fairly quickly there. So we've got Jacky here today to talk about that. And so Jacky, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you a lot, Mike. Good to be with you. It's nice to see the sun shining on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, this is a lot nice.
So weather's pretty difficult around the country. Looks like we're going to get some decent weather next week as well.
That'd be nice.
I think, Mike,
it's been raining the whole time the last few weeks.
Exactly. When we talk about Catawba County, we obviously kind of focus on Sherrills Ford community. I think the story of development in the Sherrills Ford community, it really didn't begin 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It actually goes back over 20 years ago, or around the year 2000. And even back in the 1990s, there was a lot of attention being shown to the lake. I think people finally discovered Lake Norman on the Catawba County side of the river. And the Crescent Resources began a lot of development along the lake. Northview Harbor development began to occur on Allen Point Road, and actually about 7 phases of Northview Harbor began to take off. So as we approached year 2000, the county was in somewhat of a dilemma because of school growth. We actually were at capacity or over capacity, and there was some concern about, are we beginning to grow too fast, getting a little bit ahead of the school system's ability to keep up with the building and construction. So the county put a kind of a moratorium in place where a lot of development in those areas of the county where school capacity was a concern, you had a 2-acre minimum requirement. So as we made that turn in 2000, we began to take the comprehensive plan and begin to look at the 7 areas of the county and divided it up into what's called small area plans. So a committee was formed in the Sherrills Ford community along with the 6 other communities around the county. And this committee worked with staff and with the COG and consultants for over a year. And if you will, we asked them to go into the region and take photographs of what they would like for this part of the county to look like, and to see things they liked and didn't like. And of course, Mooresville came up a lot. We don't look like Mooresville. We don't want Sherrills Ford to turn into another Mooresville because of the congestion and the issues with traffic and high density development. But what the community said, and not just Sherrills Ford, but every community of the county, all 7, said, we want walkable communities. We want form and design to be of high quality. They wanted amenities, parks and open space. And basically they wanted, some of the same type of development that we began to see developing all around the Charlotte region. So with that in mind, kind of having our marching orders, we began to finish up the small area plans and develop what was called the Unified Development Ordinance that would have design and standards in place that would reflect what the community really desired. And so in 2007, we completed that design component of the Unified Development Ordinance and put new standards in place, giving developers really more flexibility for development, but also putting more demands on developers as well, as it related to connectivity, to infrastructure improvements, parks, open space, those types of things, and obviously doing projects well designed. So after doing that, the county said, well, okay, if Catawba County is growing in the Sherrills Ford region, and clearly the census data over the last 20 years and projecting into the next 10 to 20 years clearly showed, Sherrills Ford as being the largest and fastest growing segment of the county. So they made a decision to extend water and sewer into the Sherrills Ford community, down Sherrills Ford Road, intersection of 150, and all the way down to the intersection of 16 and 150. So the infrastructure was put in place. Then in early 2008, Crescent really presented a plan to develop about 2,000 acres, which was the last large tracts of land that they owned in Catawba County. Out of that, we got a 600-acre park, Mountain Creek Park, and I'll talk more about that later. But we also got land, 200 acres for a village, mixed-use village concept at Slanting Bridge and 150 and Sherrills Ford Road. And then a 700-acre tract, called Key Harbor up off of Long Island Road, Island Point Road, sorry. And then Terrapin Creek, which is another 500-acre tract. So all total about 2,000 acres. So we approved those plans under the new development standards that we had in place. Infrastructure is on the way. And so kind of like the Maytag repairman, we waited by the phone for it to ring, and the phone didn't ring. Because as you well know, being in real estate, 2008 was also the time that we went into a deep recession, and the housing market was severely impacted. So really nothing happened for almost a decade until about 2015, the phone began to ring, and it rang and it rang and it rang. And so the village changed ownership. It began to develop and expand. And Midway Harbor at the lake, we got plans approved in the last couple of years for it. So the bottom line is, as we sit here today, we have over 7,000 housing units that have been approved in the Sherrills Ford community between 16 and 150 and the lake, and going up north on Sherrills Ford Road up to Molly's Backbone. So that portion of about 7 or 8 miles has seen over 7,000 housing units approved and over 1 million square feet of non-residential office, retail space, and so forth, and services. So the Sherrills Ford community is poised and in position, for rapid growth into the future. More and more we are perceived as a northern bedroom community of Charlotte, the Charlotte metro area. And it's, the first kind of canary in the gold mine, if you will, was the D.R. Horton project, which was a portion of the village. 163 homes were approved back in 2017 to get that part of the village center started. We had never seen rapid housing development, over that long stretch of recession. But D.R. Horton built 163 houses in about 18 months, and they all sold. And the word on the street was, you could buy a $280,000 home in the D.R. Horton project in the village and pay $350,000 for the same house in Huntersville. So a lot of the young professionals that were working in the Charlotte market decided, hey, we'll drive that extra 8 or 10 miles if we can save $50,000 or $60,000 in the price of a new home.
Yep.
So that's been a very successful project, and we're finding that you and I talk about affordability all the time, affordable housing. But what we found out was even at $270 to $325 in the Sherrills Ford market, that's the price that people were looking for. Of course, we know all over Catawba County, that is not the median house price. It's much closer to $200,000 versus $300,000. But so that growth has just been pretty rapid since about 2015. So we've approved a lot of projects, but the jury is still out on how quickly that 7,000 housing units and 1 million square feet of non-residential is really going to develop. And what we see it as is probably a 10 to 15 to 20 year build out. It's not going to happen overnight. And of course, with all this rapid development, Mike, we have obviously development pressures. We have concerns for people who have lived in the Sherrills community for many, many years, who are all of a sudden now they're faced with all this additional traffic. They were facing the traffic as they went across the lake in the Mooresville for more than a decade. But now they're saying, wait a minute, it's all coming home now. It's all coming to our side of the lake. Of course, the question was, as we go back all the way to the early 2000s and work with the small area community and the plans, but people wanted more services in Sherrills Ford. They wanted to stay home and shop at home and live at home and not have to go across the lake. Well, with growth comes problems,
Right.
and problems of traffic and congestion. And so, you're having to deal with that more and more. And it's very interesting. Some of our retiree friends that have come from the northeastern part of the country talk about how terrible traffic is here in Catawba County and across the lake. And wait a minute, you just came from Manhattan or Connecticut or somewhere like that, and you're talking about traffic. This isn't traffic congestion, but obviously it is an issue. And we talk about growth and transportation and what's happening with 150 and 16. As you know, 16 is in the last segment of the 4-laning between Newton and Conover and all the way down to the Charlotte central city. And so this last phase, should be wrapping up, if not by the end of this calendar year, hopefully in the spring of 2022. So we'll have that north to south connector in place. The Highway 150 east-west connector across Catawba County is much more problematic. It's designed for 4 lanes, super street design, just like 16 into Charlotte. But 4 lanes, by the time it's finished, really won't be adequate, Mike. It probably needs to be 6 lanes.
Yeah, I was thinking that
too.
Going through there now. I mean, with the 2 lanes, it's like you said, it almost seems like it should be 6.
Exactly. And of course, the Mooresville side, segment 1 will be started, right of way is underway, right of way acquisition, and construction will be starting in the next 3 or 4 years, from Highway 21 in Mooresville, crossing the lake to Greenwood Avenue in Catawba County. But then the Catawba County segment, all the way down to 16 and 150, really starts about 2029. And right-of-way acquisition probably 2027. So, it's really, we're a decade away before we really see road improvements begin to gain some momentum. So we're going to have to live with the pressures of growth and development, how we balance it out over the next decade until we get some relief from the expansion of 150.
So
now what we are doing, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, of the 7,000 rooftops that have been allocated or whatever, how many would you say we have now?
We've issued about 500 building permits out of that group. So like I say, about 5% or less than 5% of the total number of approved units have actually gone under construction or been sold.
Gotcha.
And folks, when they hear that number, 7,000, oh my gosh, what are you doing to our community? As I said to you, and we say at every meeting we have, folks, this doesn't happen overnight.
No.
Now, yes, the D.R. Horton project, 165 homes were built in 18 months, which is unusual. I don't think you always see that rapid of expansion or development, because that exceeded their expectations. They had no idea.
Yeah.
They thought they might build 50 homes a year. So they were projecting maybe, a 3 to 4 year build out, and they were able to do it a lot quicker. But these other plans that have been approved, we're seeing some townhomes in the village now coming out of the ground. We're seeing apartments built in the village, that original 200-acre area. But most of these other units are going to be much slower. It's going to be phased over time.
Okay.
So we don't anticipate, hundreds and hundreds of single-family homes, townhouses, and apartments being built over a 2-year period, for example. It's going to be much, I think, more stretched out, because as you well know, where are the jobs? Jobs drive everything. And I think, the thing that probably is in our favor you mentioned COVID-19. As you well know, the high rises and the skyscrapers in Charlotte are having a hard time staying filled up now. People are staying home. They're working from their home more and more. And so it seems to me that retail space, because of Amazon and other online shopping, as well as office buildings, are going to be, pretty hard pressed to fill their facilities up. So people will be working, I think, out of their homes more and more, which means I think people will be gravitating toward the Sherrills Ford community more and more, and living and working out of their homes.
Yeah, I mean, it gives them a lot more fun. If you only have to go in the city, maybe you only have to go in the city twice a week, and then 3 days a week.
Exactly.
You're going to want maybe a slightly bigger house and more room to spread out there. So if you get more free money in that area versus Mooresville, then maybe you should. And so no, it definitely makes sense. And I think what's really cool about it is the fact that, a lot of times growth happens kind of without notice kind of sometimes. And this is like really well planned out. And so I guess it feels good that, hey, we've got this set aside and we know that this is happening, and then we can do this in order to prepare for that. Cause like you said, you don't want it to turn somewhere like, and those are cool. I mean, Mooresville's an awesome community. I mean, I like going there to shop.
Yeah, it is.
But at the same time, I also don't like the traffic and how fast it built up. So you can't really get around. I mean, you try and go around there at lunchtime or rush hour, forget about it. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that they've got some cool shopping and lots of fun stuff to do there. But
exactly.
But it'd be nice to be able to, it's nice to know that we're kind of taking a measured approach in our county to grow smart.
Well, I think so. You bring up a good point. When we asked the community to go and take photographs of things they liked and didn't like, when you approach Mooresville, the shopping center that has the Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, World Market, I think it is. That stretch, it's about a quarter mile of continuous buildings, attached to each other, a strip center in a sense. And, they said, well, we don't want that in Sherrills Ford and along 150. So what we did is we, approved these different plans, from the small area plans to the 150 corridor plan, 16 corridor plan. We tried to identify nodes, if you will, a node at 16 and 150, a node at the village center, which is Sherrills Ford Road and 150, and then a node at the lake for Midway Marina. So 3 or 4 nodes along that stretch of 7 or 8 miles on 150, where at each node you'd concentrate high density development, but then you'd have breathing space in between, so traffic, wouldn't be exposed to a continuous strip of nonstop commercial. So we did try to apply, hopefully, some smart growth principles by doing that, to give traffic some relief all along that stretch of 150 and not congregate at all in one continuous strip. So that's the difference between what we've tried to do here versus what we obviously along that one stretch in Mooresville. Now, another thing we are doing with traffic. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I finished.
I was just going to say.
No, it's good for traffic. Keep on that one, because I was going to shift gears to something else completely. So, again.
Yeah, another thing, we don't require what's called a traffic impact analysis with major development in our UDO, but what we're asking for and recommending and seeing more with our projects are what's called traffic impact analysis, so that every development is now, setting aside right of way for the expansion of 150. They're putting in, turn lanes, signal lights, whatever DOT requires. So we're seeing, in a sense, more asphalt put on the dirt or on the ground, preparing for traffic problems as we go into the future. And we didn't used to do that. You used to didn't see traffic impact analysis being done in rural development in the county, but now we are seeing it more and more, which is helpful to have enough, turn lanes, like I say, signal lights, enough spacing and stacking to try to bring some relief to, traffic congestion.
No, and again, I applaud you guys for doing that and being so deliberate about it. And I'm excited to see the kind of how everything kind of forms in the future. You talked a little bit about being spread out. One of the things that I thought was intriguing about this project, or the planning of this development, is that you've got some really cool park ideas where they set aside some land. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that's going to look like?
Yeah, well, I'm really fortunate to oversee both planning and parks, so that's a lot of fun when you can do both. We're part of that original agreement with Crescent Resources and Duke Energy was a conveyance of 600 acres to the county for a regional park, a major park. And so that is underway. The county commissioners were very gracious to certainly staff and to the community by awarding a $8 million bond to build this park. So as I speak here today, we have about 18 miles of really championship designed mountain bike trail system in place. We'll have a nature, hopefully science center. There'll be, canoeing, kayak, and paddle boat on the river, on the lake itself, Lake Norman. Adventure playground, pump tracks for mountain bike, trail riders as well as beginners. Pickleball courts. Just a lot of amenities that the county currently is not offering in our other three parks. We really anticipate this park being a tremendous attractor. We really do in the region. We think it's going to help travel tourism a lot. We think it's going to help with the overall growth of the Sherrills Ford community. It clearly is a marketing benefit to housing development that'll be occurring. And we anticipate the park hopefully being open this fall.
Wow.
Weather's been difficult. Since we awarded the contract to J.D. Goodrum back in September, we've had 28.5 inches of rain in the Sherrills Ford community. We've lost 52 days, almost a third of the time, because of bad weather. Yeah. So, the weather needs to cooperate in order for us to hopefully open in the fall of this year.
That'd be cool.
But we're excited.
I didn't realize it was going to be that fast. So that's awesome that they're able. I mean, obviously, weather permitting, but still, that's really cool. I mean, and between that and what the city of Hickory's doing, and Newton and Conover, how they've upgraded, it's absolutely, it's just so cool to be here in this time period. I feel like even 10 years ago, we were kind of hopeful that there was going to be some cool stuff happening, and but it wasn't as, I think, as positive and that's the word I'm looking for. I guess the outlook just still wasn't as hopeful as it is now, and just seeing all the cool things that we're going to be able to do. And, where normally we'd say, oh, you go to Blowing Rock for that, or you go to Charlotte for that, or you go to somewhere else. And now it's like, it's all here in our county. We're going to be able to do a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I agree with you. I think Conover, Newton, and Hickory, in county, we work together. The COG, we all are working together to try to make the entire community a better place to live, work, and play. We don't see ourselves in competition with each other. The way we feel in the county, if a city wins, we win. I mean, what's good for the cities is good for the county. And so it's just, it's a good place to work. It really is. Working with you guys in the private sector through our land use development board. It's good to have that constant communication and interaction. You guys are kind of like our test. Again, use the term canary in the coal mine. What are we doing wrong? What can we do better? And you guys are always a wonderful sounding board to give us advice. And if you see something that's not working efficiently with our regulations and rules and timing it takes to get permits, you guys have always weighed in and helped us, I think, because, hey, look, we work for you guys. We work for the community. That's our board of directors as the citizens of the county. And if the community doesn't do well, government doesn't do well. So it's a fun place to work. It is. It really is. Catawba County, like you said, is on the up and up. And it's a good place, good time to be here.
And for those that don't know what the Jacky might be referring to with the Land Use Development Board, there's a independent board that is basically, it's kind of informal, but it's with the realtors, the chamber, and the home builders, and they kind of get together like once every other month or so and kind of discuss maybe some issues that are maybe popping up that maybe might be hindering growth or might be hindering that sort of thing. And then the city and the county agencies come to the meeting and kind of let us know kind of what's going on out there. And it's pretty much how I met Jacky. And he's always been so gracious with his time and explaining everything that's kind of going on. And so we really, do appreciate that. And I don't know that I've talked much about that board on here, but maybe that's another topic for another podcast, maybe. But
yeah, and one other thing for your audience, that land use development board, I think maybe even before you got involved, was instrumental in us putting our unified development ordinance together. So actually, that committee and that board reviewed our regulations back in 2007 and 8, and was instrumental in what the county ultimately adopted. So probably unique in that way, but it's been around, like I say, now over 10 years, and it's been real helpful.
No, that's really good. All right. Anything else about going on in the county that you wanted to bring up that you didn't get a chance to talk about?
I think I pretty well covered it. Most of the growth, I gave you the ballpark, the big picture of the number of units and commercial, non-residential under development or approval process. More development is coming. We probably will see, 300 to 500 additional housing units approved this year that we know about. Some additional commercial is coming our way. There's a big apartment complex, as a matter of fact, that we're taking to the planning board this Monday night. It's 340 apartments. It's down. It hadn't mentioned that and it had not included that in this number I gave you earlier, as a matter of fact. It's down at 16 and 150, the business section of old 16 and 150 by the food line. You may be familiar with that particular area. So this is apartments that's going in there in that particular area. I think we'll see, Mike, over the next 24 months, some positive things happening around that interchange.
Okay.
I think you're going to see some business development. I'm not sure it will rival Trivium, but we could see some major business development, I think, around that intersection, as well as some additional residential as well.
That's awesome. I mean, again, it kind of goes hand in hand. The more commercial we have, the more reason for the residential.
Right.
And so I think it kind of goes hand in hand there. So we're going to kind of start to kind of wrap up a little bit. So the last part of my show generally is we ask a couple little fun questions at the end. I used to do like a top 10 list, and it was like timed, and then that ended up getting dragged out because then people didn't pay attention to timing. So now just kind of have like 3 questions since we're in our COVID world here, and I kind of asked some kind of goofy questions.
Right.
Anyway, so one that I had was, what TV series have you picked up since COVID that you might not have otherwise picked up, in the last, say 12 months or so?
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting in anticipation for the next Jack Ryan series. I love CIA, shoot 'em up, bang, bang type stuff, man. Series like that. To be honest with you, man, I got hooked on Hallmark movies.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I cry. I watch these Christmas movies, and you know how it's going to end every time. But I declare, I get teary-eyed. My wife's always picking on me about these stupid Hallmark movies. But
That was really
I love those things. I'm into politics. Obviously, I enjoy current events and what's going on in the world. I enjoy eschatology, and that's a study of end time events. It's kind of fascinating to me where we are in this world and where we're headed. So that's kind of interesting.
Excellent.
So I do some of that, and I love golf, and just kind of getting outside and walking and jogging when I get a chance.
Nice. Yeah, I picked up. We've been watching Peaky Blinders on Netflix. It's like,
yeah,
it's like kind of like a crime drama, I guess, in England. I have to watch it with subtitles though, because the accents are so heavy that I can't even understand them sometimes. So I put the subtitles on there, and it works pretty well. But it's really good. It's really well done. It's a BBC show.
Yeah.
And, they got a really good music soundtrack with it and everything. It's really that's a cool show.
Yeah.
But,
right.
So what has become your favorite takeout spot?
Wow. You ever heard of Sweet Taters in Conover? Yeah. We usually hit that place 2 or 3 nights a week.
Okay.
Of course, I love Backstreet Grill and Hickory and Fresh Chef.
Okay.
Usually, Fresh Chef is a Sunday watering hole for my Sunday school class and I. We usually hang out at Fresh Chef usually on Sunday after church. So that's kind of a fun place to go. So
that's pretty neat. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. The new, I think it's Masamora Katina in the old Highland Avenue, in the Highland Avenue building. I'm looking forward to that one. That's I really love Mexican food. So usually we do a lot of takeout from Rancho Viejo. I'll probably just add another night of Mexican to the week. I don't think I'll stop going there, but
it's kind of interesting. It's really neat to see more restaurants opening in our community. You so many places around the country, restaurants are closing right and left, but it seems like our community, I think I told my wife, I said, you're in the real estate business. Why do we need kitchens anymore? We all eat out. I mean, just, microwave and, you don't really need a stove or the major things of a kitchen any longer.
No.
Because we eat out so much.
That's for sure. And then what's the thing you're looking forward to getting back when we get back to normal? What's the thing you're looking forward to the most?
Gosh, I don't know, man. Well, here at the office, it'd be nice to actually see people again. You have to go through the doors and meet folks in a room and obviously with mask on and so forth. I think interacting with people socially, just being able to go to sporting events and, just getting out and doing things. It's just a bizarre time, isn't it?
It really is.
Different time we're going through.
We have season tickets to the Hornets. It's something that as a kid growing up and stuff. And so we really miss being able to go to those games. It's cool that they're on TV and at least playing now, but can't wait to be able to go back to the games again and feel safe going back. So
absolutely.
Anyway, we'll see what happens, but that's I think that's kind of been our thing. Do you have any questions for me since I'm in real estate or whatever? I mean, we talk a little bit, but do you have any questions for me?
Well, I mean, it was good to hear talking to you the other day about the market, how, of course, there's good news and bad news. Houses sell quickly when they come on the market, then the right location, the right price, I guess. Less than 2 months of inventory, I guess.
Less than 2 months inventory. It's unbelievable.
So that's good news.
Yeah, it is good news. It's hard for buyers. I feel bad for a lot of our buyers because it's almost it seems like every house in the, let's say, from 150 to 300,000, almost every house gets 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 or 6 offers, and you just have all these buyers that are disappointed that really wanted that house enough to make an offer on it and couldn't get it, and sometimes it's it's really hard to pick between them. I mean, and people send letters and say why they should get it, and makes it kind of even emotional sometimes for the sellers. So that's probably been the hardest thing to deal with. Back when we had the recession, you kind of pined for like this, and in a lot of ways it is better, but it is really hard now though, because people there's a lot of people that want to move and want to do something, and the lack of inventory is crimping our ability to do commerce. So it's just kind of tricky.
Absolutely. As I mentioned to you the other day, who would have thought we'd ever see the day that you get multiple offers on a house, or even, bidding on the house above and beyond what you're asking for?
Yeah.
We saw that in Cary over a decade ago. We saw it in Huntersville. We saw it in many other communities around the state. And we said, why can't that happen here? And now it is.
It is now, that's for sure. And I almost feel like we're playing catch up from a lot of those other communities, because I think we were kind of behind for so long. And I think now we're kind of building and trying to, playing catch up a little bit. And the fact that we didn't have a lot of building in that time period. So we'll get there, hopefully keep improving those buildings in Sherrills Ford. And hopefully maybe we can get some development, closer to Hickory, Newton, and Conover, and in this part of the county too, because we need the rooftops.
Exactly.
But, anyway, well, Jacky, I know you got a lot going on, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us here. And I think you provided a lot of really good information for everybody. So I'll put your contact information in the show notes if anybody needs to get a hold of you for some reason. If somebody sees this from another area and they decide they want to, do some commercial development or something in our area, this way they know who to talk to.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, sir.
Again, I really appreciate you being on, and thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Take care. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.